A very good afternoon, everyone. That was an illuminating session. Well, thank you. I know post-lunch sessions are invariably difficult. So thanks to the esteemed audience for staying awake. I know we had a good lunch. But let me first take this opportunity to thank each one of you, and particularly Elets. I think I've attended a lot of conferences recently, and I can vouch that this has been one of the most absorbing panel discussions that I've attended over the last 2 days. Uh, Amazing kind of learnings, and I think since it has been, what do you say, the fulcrum, as I think Priya used yesterday, the fulcrum has been technology of all the changes that are being driven in the BFSI segment. Uh, so the intent of this particular presentation is also more on how do we really see technology investments giving the ROI to CXO leaders like yourself. And for that, I think I'll probably take help of my colleague and guess if we can probably see, is this working? Can you just operate it from there? Yeah, I think we can move on. Right, I know we have a few audience. I see more empty chairs than filled. But again, nonetheless, in the interest of time, let's just quickly see exactly how many of you have used these applications and are happy to use these applications. I know fewer hands, but I think that's good. Sometimes this gives us a quick visibility as to how many people. Good. So I see a lot of people have used these applications like the Netflix, the Amazon Primes of the world. Let's continue. How about these applications? Okay, I see some Outlook, Teams, Excel, Slack, WebEx. All right, let's not limit. Okay, now we have this. We have Oracle, we have Microsoft Dynamics, ServiceNow, Salesforce. All right, so this is basically to share that the number of digital applications that a lot of leaders like yourself have embarked on in this journey. And as I said, technology is a boon, and sometimes it is a bane as well, a bane and a boon, and in the sense that there's sometimes an overflow of technology today in each of our world. I'm sure all of you have heard about generative AI. Anybody who's not heard? Okay, I think most of us have, right? But the breakneck speed at which technology is permeating our daily lives sometimes take a toll on us. Any idea as to how many digital applications does a Fortune 500 organization have? Any rough guesses? How many digital applications does a Fortune 500 organization on an average have? Any rough guess? Give it a wild guess. 50. Anybody else? 100. That's a nice number. I'll probably take the third and the last one. Any further guesses? Okay, I'll give you. It's 900. 900 applications are being used by a Fortune 500 organization. Now, this is spread across your HR, your finance, right? Even your customer-facing, some of your dealer-facing applications, right? In India, I think the number is slightly less. I think I was talking to one of the IDC summits last week, a couple of weeks back, and it mentioned that in the next 2 years, most of the IT leaders will be actually embarking on their digital journey with 28 more applications in the next 2 years, right? So with that breakneck speed, sometimes it's like the employees of the organization or the users, they generally feel that, is this just too much to cope up with? And a lot of the leaders, the CXOs, invest millions of dollars into buying these technology, but are we really able to get the ROIs when at the end of first year, we see that has they really delivered on the promise that we really bought them for? Right? So I'm sure there are these chairs, but let me just say, so it is basically, we have tried too much, right, for our users to be tech savvy. There's so much of technology overdose, AI, ML, blockchain, vernacular. We heard a lot of stuff, but is this the time that we flip the table and say, can my technology be user savvy? Right? So this is precisely what it has come down to, that there is so much of technology today that my users sometimes struggle because they are not there at the top helm when they are taking the decision, but it is probably at the last mile when people are trying to decipher how to use that application to complete their day-to-day tasks. So this is basically when you struggle to understand that, I mean, am I really doing right? Am I really not productive? It's okay, Shanoj. We can probably move ahead in the interest of time. So when you talk about digital transformation leaders, and I think the technology has been the top track, Gartner says that 7 out of 10 digital transformations have not been able to deliver the result that the leaders had initially thought about. That's a staggering 70% number. And that has been cut across not a particular single domain, but across the industry. You can move ahead. As I said, right, this is recently on the technology, what the leaders, the business leaders think as their priorities, and what the IT leaders believe that are their priorities. Now, it's interesting to see that probably the customer engagement and the employee engagement hold a very prominent piece in both of them. And if you look at the second one, which is improving and simplifying IT, that's also one of the core goals of all the IT leaders today. So when we talk about technology being the fulcrum of the change that we want to give back to our customer or employee, it also takes me back to one of the interesting panel discussions that we had yesterday, right? Which was experience is not just customer experience. Experience is the continuum of employee experience, your partner experience, and your customer. That is how I think Sunil mentioned this yesterday. It is total experience that matters today, not just a singular. Move ahead quickly. So again, I'm trying to be as interactive as possible because I know this is obviously this is quite fag end of the day in terms of the continuous discussions. But any idea as to why most of the digital transformation have not been able to deliver the impact that they intend to? Anybody would want to take a guess? I think this is a small group. I can probably step down as well and can help you guys with the mics. But any guesses as to why do you think the digital transformations, they do not really achieve their intended objective?
It's actually the buy-in from the stakeholders. They're wide stakeholders. Normally, I'm assuming these are like large-scale transformations. Mm-hmm. So the buying from these various stakeholders, seeing the value, that's where the concept of design thinking comes in. What does it mean to me? How does it going to change my life?
So the person who's actually using it is not able to decipher what exactly was the intent. Why? Anything produced?
That's what the end user has not been considered. That is connected. Yeah.
Anybody else with a different point of view?
See, any strategically important implementation that we do, and digital transformation being one of such implementation, we have to go back to the assumptions very frequently and validate at every stage. Maybe whatever strategy you had formulated before going for the implementation, that you should validate every 3 months whether things are going on the track or not. That we miss out on a large scale.
Very well pointed out, right?
Proper awareness and training. That is also one of the factors.
I cannot thank you more for that. So yes, so definitely, gentlemen, there are multiple things, but so today, Whatfix is, I think today Rahul mentioned that this is the age of digital adoption, right? Now, Whatfix take singular pride in being the global leader as a digital adoption platform, which services more than 650 enterprises across the world with 150 of the Fortune 1000 organizations. And based on our research, these are the 4 factors from your end user perspective. Why most of your digital transformations do not succeed. I don't have the time. So you have implemented a lot of technology. The user is engrossed into so many different things that they don't have the time. Then I cannot find the application which you had intended me to use. Okay, once I found the app, what do I do with this? And last but not the least, the process itself is so complex that I'm not able to make head and tail out of it. And then there is a user journey drop-off. Now, this is very simple. I understand we had some brilliant inputs coming from the audience as well, but this is as basic as it gets, right? When we are taking decisions, investing millions of dollars, this is something that we somehow miss. That it is that end user for which we have invested those millions of dollars who really need to use that application. And if that is not solved, the entire millions of dollars that we invest probably are not really yielding the right results. Which is essentially, I'm not sure how many, this is more of a BFSI summit, but do you know this Citibank lost $500 million because of a UI mistake? Because the subcontractor clicked on the wrong box and they had incurred this $500 million loss. Right. This is where a digital adoption platform steps in. Right. Now, what is a digital adoption platform? Let me very quickly summarize. Now, digital adoption platform is an overlay technology on top of any digital application. Since there are a lot of IT leaders out here as well, so it could be something which is driven for your customers, which is a mobile app, something which is actually more native. I think a lot of people would know Finacle, right, which is something like a core banking, which is a desktop-based applications, or something as simple as Salesforce or an MS Dynamics or a CRM Next, which is way more web intuitive. It could be cutting across any platform. This actually acts like a GPS on top of your underlying application, which helps you, or rather the end user, complete a task like a Google Maps does when you probably travel from airport to Hotel Radisson. So if I say, and I'll show you that, okay, how do I create a purchase order, or how do I request a checkbook? If I can handhold my end user with respect to these are the 4 steps which you need to accomplish. Mind you, like insurance, and I think as Rupesh mentioned, insurance, the delight comes when you help the customer in the moment of need. This is also something which helps the user in that very moment of need, not overlooking somebody, not tapping somebody's shoulders, not raising a Jira request, but really in that moment of need. And with the hybrid workforce, today this is all the more important because a lot of people are working from home. So this is how, once you have deployed it across anything, the first and foremost thing is, as a leader, I would want to know is where exactly is my friction point, which is where the product analytics come into play, wherein they first tell you during this entire, maybe it could be your website, it could be your internal SAP application, where exactly is my user drop-off happening. So if registering probably my nominee is probably a 4-step process, then out of those 4-step process, where exactly is my user moving away from the application? We recently did this for one of our telecom giants, and they were saying that we had deployed some application for their for the end user, which sits into one of those diesel generator that the operation was from the diesel genset. And they said, look, despite everything, we have not been able to decipher why are they not logging. So we deployed a digital adoption platform on top of this. We understood exactly there was a particular step at which they do not know which option to select. And what we did is, again, which is where the second part comes in, which is the creation. So we also have a low-code, no-code content creator, which can actually create content in terms of your forms, PDFs, videos, GIFs, which can be translated on the go in 105 languages. Right? So once you have deployed and developed that content, it can be now pushed across into the in-app guidance, which is called just-in-time. Whenever I get stuck, I have a self-help or a beacon or a guidance or a compliance check, which actually helps you correct and ensure that this is 100% accurate with respect to what you want in an application. Right? Last but not the least, even after this, once you've kind of really overlaid everything, you really need to know how many times are those people using that help that I've created. And if there is something that my customer is asking something, but it is not there at all in my help, it can integrate also into your learning management system or any of your internal portals that where you have your knowledge repository. I know this, for some of you who have already visited our booth, this might be easier to grapple, but let me tell you, Gartner has predicted by 2025, 2 years from now, 70% of the enterprises will be using one or the other form of digital adoption platform. So I know we have seen the ERPs, the SCMs, right, the HCM, the human capital management softwares of the world. This is something which is as revolutionary as you can think. Because today, I think all of us have already said, technology is not a helper. It is the business. It is the reason of existence of business today. I'll not spend too much time here. Probably we can discuss this in the interest of time. This is what we have done. Be it ICICI, be it Century Insurance, Western, right from the customer-facing side of the portals to the claim settlement, the loan origination system, we have helped the organizations with the humongous amount of attrition they are facing. So they do not need to really ensure that, yes, each of my end user has to be trained after a 30 or 45-day cycle, because the guidance is right there in the application for them. It is something like a Rahul Dravid teaching a newbie as to how to handle swing bowling in London, because he has already been there. So the tribal knowledge that your senior most stakeholders know is already enveloped in this application. Right, I can probably discuss this in more detail. I think there is a small minute of a video which I wanted you to see. I think this is something that we did with ICICI, which when we deployed on their customer internet portal, we reduced their support tickets by as much as 50%. So most of these queries were how-tos. In fact, I was interacting with somebody today as well who said, look, I've already done something for my dealers and their distributors, but my 60% of my support tickets are just how to do this. Right? So once you envelop this digital adoption layer on top of your application, all those how-to queries are intuitively solved. We can probably, I'm not very sure, this resolution is not great. So if any one of you wants to understand exactly what we have done with ICICI, if you are ICICI user, if you log into your personal banking itself, there is a self-help at the site which is actually empowered by Whatfix. So how do I request a checkbook? You just take, and then there is a series of steps basically which actually your end user will be guided on. And this is not just steps. You can actually create contents, your videos on top of that. I think we have discussed enough and more that video is the most often consumed way for Indian audiences. So you can create this, walk them through a step-by-step process as to how to complete a process. I think with that, probably, I think, Shanoj, in the interest of time, so this is what we are, and I take extreme pride. I think Ashton mentioned yesterday that India is leapfrogging US and Europe in terms of innovation, and I take pride in saying that, look, we are an Indian organization, 900 employee organization with 30 offices globally. We've been in existence since 2014. We'll be completing a decade next year, and we are in the top 0.1 percentile of SaaS companies with the highest CSAT in the world. Right? So extremely proud when you talk about we work with almost 20 top 20 banks in the US. We work with almost 4 of the top 10 insurance providers in the US. In India also, we are embarking on our journey big time, both on mobile as well as web. Talk about certifications. We work with NASA. We work with Facebooks of the world. So the topmost security standards are being followed to ensure there is absolutely data sanctity and data privacy which is taken care of. This is a small list of our customers, and maybe just an immediate snapshot of this is what we've done in India and Southeast Asia. With that, gentlemen, thank you so very much for being a patient audience. I know it was probably a bag end of the day, but I hope I did justice. Thank you.